think we have anybody in the corridors at this point. So go ahead, we'll call to order. So I'm going to start, instead of doing the traditional land acknowledgement for Limestone, I'm just going to speak a few words. So as a member of Beausoleil First Nation, I do want to take a moment to acknowledge the land that we are on. While I do recognize and respect that Limestone District School Board does have a formal land acknowledgement, as an Indigenous person, those words are not mine. And I do feel it's important to speak from the heart and lived experiences. We are on the traditional land of the Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee, the land that has been cared for since time immemorial. For me, acknowledging this land is not a script, but a responsibility, one that includes honoring the ancestors, treaties, and the ongoing relationship Indigenous people have with this land. As we meet, plan, and make decisions that affect families and students, may we do so with awareness of the histories that shape this place and with respect for the enduring presence, voices, and rights of Indigenous peoples in these communities. Miigwech to the original stewards of the land and to those committed to truth, reconciliation, and respectful relationship building moving forward. So the next thing on the agenda is to acknowledge attendance and regrets. We didn't receive any formal regrets for this meeting that I'm aware of, at least. In terms of attendance, those of you who have participated in the past will have noticed that we're doing a little bit different of an attendance sign-in this time. So we're going to try, at least to start off the year, to do an electronic sign-in process. The decision for that was based off feedback that we heard from the group last year in regards to collecting more clear data about which schools are participating, ratio of elementary versus intermediate and secondary schooling, and just for some more consistency and more clarity in who is participating in these meetings. So those of you in the room, when you came in, where you originally had your sign-in book, there was a QR code, also a little bit.ly short link. There also is those on your table. So we do ask that if you have not already signed in, you do so. And I believe for the people online, there is a link posted into the chat of the meeting. Yes, I've got a thumbs up. So for those of you online, please make sure that you have signed in there as well. The other thing, for those of you online, it is important that we are able to identify your role in terms of participation for the meeting. So I'm going to specifically point out Kelly Leclerc has gone ahead and indicated her school, but we do also need to know if Kelly is a PIC rep here by proxy or as a guest. And then the same for the rest of you as well. The rest of the names that I see just have names themselves and do not have the school or role identification. So if you could please take a moment to update that for us, that would be appreciated. Yeah, I can't see the whole list. And we can always, if we need to create a sort of cheat sheet guide on how to do that for future meetings, then we can put something together for that as well. I don't off the top of my head know how to direct people on how to change their name. So, is there any declarations for conflict of interest that we should make note of for today's meeting? We're not seeing any or hearing any? Okay. And before proceeding into the actual meeting itself, we wanted to take a moment to review a couple of things, a couple of housekeeping items. So for those of you in the meeting space here, if you are not aware, there is in the corridor directly behind us, table and refreshments. Please help yourself. If you are all of a sudden parched in the middle of the meeting, no one will think twice if you get up and go grab yourself a drink or a bite to eat. Please feel free to do so. And there are bathrooms just directly outside this door here. So that is available to you. In terms of how we participate and engage with each other. So it is important that we make sure that everybody participating and attending these PIC meetings are all agreeing to be respectful and professional of each other. It's important we engage in those constructive and courteous dialogues, and we allow speakers to present their speeches, to speak and not interrupt. It's also important that we remember that PIC and the board are allies. So we are all here to be working together and working collaboratively to support the students and our school community. We might not always see eye to eye on things. We might have a difference of opinion. We might feel passionate about certain items, but it's important that at the end of the day, we do remember that we are allies working together. We need to make sure that everything is kept at a community-focused level. So while sometimes we might use an example from our own personal school to determine if this is a community-wide topic, it is important that everything is based on the school communities themselves, and we make sure that we are not bringing our own personal experiences and stories to these meetings. We need to stay on topic. So there are going to be each meeting, we will discuss these as well, just as that reinforcement and that reminder. And we've put a little clarity and changed a few items in the agenda you may have noticed as well, just to try and help us stay focused and continue that along so that we are being respectful of everybody's time. New topics and motions. So only appointed PIC representatives may bring forward new topics or motions for discussion. So this process will be done primarily outside of the meetings. At any given time between meetings, PIC reps may go ahead and email PIC co-chair accounts, or when the agenda call out goes, going forward after today's meeting, there will be an agenda call that will go out before each meeting. And at that time, you'll be welcome to bring forward items that will be considered for discussion at that meeting. I say considered because, as per my previous point, it is important that those topics do serve the purpose of PIC and are community based. So we can have that dialogue back and forth before that meeting agenda is set. That's not to say that things don't come up that maybe might be more time sensitive and perhaps maybe do need to be discussed on a particular day. So should that be the case, a PIC rep can go ahead and request an addition to the agenda. And then depending on that day, the other items up for discussion and what that item might be, we as a group will decide whether or not we are going to add on to the agenda for the day or move on and sort of parking lot that for the next meeting. Attendance sign-in. All attendees are required to sign in at the start of the meeting, including their name, their role, and their school. For individuals who are not associated with the school, such as our community members, they will select their associated organizations. When you are speaking, please do identify yourself, not only by name, but by your school and your role as well. That will help us with our record keeping for the minutes. Guest participation. So these meetings are public. Majority of the people who will attend will be PIC representatives or proxy attendees, or maybe a chair might arrive. However, if you are not a PIC representative, then you are a guest. And so guests are welcome to observe, and they're welcome to ask questions that are in follow-up to the topics already being presented. But guests do not have the same ability to bring forward new items, such as the items a PIC rep would do. If a guest is in attendance to the meeting and has an item that they would like to have discussed, then they will need to email the PIC co-chairs or go through their assigned school PIC rep. Quorum and voting. So we can only make our decisions when quorum is met, and voting privileges are limited to the representatives. In the event that something is require a vote, we will make sure that is known in advance. So that way we can maximize participation for those who are interested. And conflicts of interest. I already asked about conflicts of interest for today's meeting, but please do make sure you disclose any potential or perceived conflicts so that we can make note and be aware of those. So the goal is to create meeting spaces that are respectful, transparent, and that they're productive for everybody and their time. So we appreciate. Thank you. So I believe everybody has a copy of the agenda or had access to the meeting package when they came in, and is in addition to having been sent one online. Is there any items that anybody wants to bring forward for today's agenda? Nope. Okie dokie. Thank you. It's a lot of talking. It's gonna be lonely up here this year. So, approval of previous minutes. So those of you who held PIC rep positions last term will have more familiarity of what had occurred at that last meeting of the year. Everybody has been sent the minutes though. Everyone received the meeting invitation. Is there anything on the minutes that we need to amend? Is there ever an agenda? Is there ever minutes that you don't amend something?
Something I said to, and very minor, in the land acknowledgement piece where it says we'll speak for everyone here. I just want to correct it because I believe I said I won't speak for everyone here, and the following sentence doesn't make any sense. Very self-serving, but if you can correct it, I would much appreciate it. Thank you.
Noted. I think we can all agree that is a reasonable correction.
Just say I know I'm speaking for myself, so I mean,
Yeah.
that's
Just for clarity, that's fair.
you're probably right.
Okay. Minutes approved. Fine.
I didn't ID myself when I talked.
You didn't, sorry.
No, sorry. I'm Shayla from Choiceville. I'm
Especially a big rep.
gonna forget to do that all year, please.
Okay. So next, let's recap from our previous year. Crystal will lead this, plus talking about focus group updates.
Everyone, I think, has a copy of the year-end report, so I'm not going to read it all. I'm just going to highlight a couple of key points there. So we had 26 official reps last year out of 58. We also had Rep. Patty Golightly here as the director's designate, and Trustee Godkin as well. We had the public health unit was our community representative last year. The meetings are recorded and they're available on the board's YouTube channel. However, some recordings were withheld due to the sensitive nature of their content. I do believe something was sent about that as well, Virginia, noting to be mindful of what is said at the meetings, because when things that would violate.
Sorry, I'm making this face because I should have also included that when I reviewed all the other items at the beginning, so thank you. We are recording.
We just need to be mindful, because if, things that cannot be then posted publicly are at the meeting, then that means that the entire meeting recording is not available to anyone. So just be mindful and respectful, please. PIC was invited by the board to collaborate on 2 family engagement events last year. The first was Kids and Screens Healthy Habits, and it was hosted in partnership with the board and the health unit. PIC also contributed $2,000 from the remaining pro-grants to support Keeping Students Safe, Human Trafficking is Closer Than You Think, a presentation by Julie Lalonde. In addition to that, we had 2 subcommittees, the bylaw review subcommittee, which focused on reviewing the bylaws, and the pro funding subcommittee, who did some really incredible work. That was a lot. They met quite frequently and had to discuss stuff very regularly, and that was a big commitment. So thank you to those who participated in that. $31,000 was available, and $27,213.75 was successfully allocated over 26 applications. So that's pretty good. We did have the 2S LGBTQIA focus group did continue last year. It was a space for families of students in the community to share experiences and connect. We'll have an update on that following this report. In the spirit of engagement and collaboration, time was set aside during the meetings, which was something that had been requested quite a bit, for intentional discussions about the committee's future direction, including goals, values, and identifying measures of success. Following that, PIC introduced some tools and practices aimed at improving clarity, accountability, and follow-through. A meeting tracking tool was implemented to record and organize key action items, assign responsibilities, and progress updates from each meeting. Virginia began sending post-meeting summary emails, providing a recap of key discussion points, discussions, and next steps, which was very much appreciated, especially for people who were not able to be in attendance, as opposed to having to wait till the minutes before the next meeting. Over the course of the year, PIC identified key advocacy items to bring forward to the board. We submitted some formal correspondence that include a recommendation to add a mental health option to the student absence reporting system, request for action urging the board to update its website with current committee descriptions, bylaws, terms of reference, and clear pathways for parent involvement at the board level. We also submitted a list of questions and clarifications regarding various board level committees as raised by PIC members. And that is the end of that report. And I believe Virginia is going to speak to what we submitted to Director Burke.
So we did get a response back, just sort of recently. We have sort of two pieces that we'll share with everybody afterwards via email. So not going to review everything in full detail in this moment, but we'll send it out to you so that we can determine whether or not we want to continue conversation going forward regarding these items. So one of the things we received was a summary regarding the different committees, the committees that include parent or family representatives. So there was this, I lost that, a bit of a chart that breaks down the committee and the language that's involved regarding participation. I was just going to send this out to you. Although Crystal and I did note that we thought there might be some things missing from this. So we'll follow up on that and we'll just sort of square that away. And then in terms of the letter of recommendation that was put forward about adding a mental health absence reporting recommendation. Sorry, I'm just trying to find the one line that I should underline. So the short answer is he said no. Yeah. There was a line I was going to intentionally read and I didn't underline it because then I lost page 2 of my agenda and I think I lost that thought, but I found my agenda, so that is okay. He does reference that we are currently in compliance with ministry requirements. This was it related to attendance codes and tracking. He continues to be hesitant to add a distinct reference code tied to mental health when the ministry and government are very prescriptive regarding expectations of school boards. Also, Brent voices some concern that without common understanding among students, families, and staff, and how they would use this and the potential sharing of personal information. So this will be in the meeting recap for everybody, so you can take a look. And then following your review of the letter, we can determine whether or not the group wants to continue any conversations about this. Okay. Perfect.
Next is the focus group update. So the focus group was established during the pandemic. And it was created because there was a lot of focus on, kindness and acceptance, etc. However, there was no intentional work being done, and there was no intentional messaging ensuring that the students who are at the highest risk of suicide are actually intentionally being provided safe spaces and ensuring that they know that they are welcome and supported. And so a lot of work has been done over the years with the group. There have been a lot of really incredible people involved, and a lot of changes happened, in particularly at the board level. The the schools that you go into today are very different than they were back then for students in this community. And so the focus group attendance has kind of diminished over the years. And so we're putting it out back to PIC to ask what PIC would like to do with the committee. We've had a couple of suggestions. Trustee Godkin has attended. I don't know if he's ever missed a meeting. Actually. So he could speak to this as well. But we know that there has been expressions of interest perhaps by parents for a place to, if it's even it's just an open meeting or an open time, you know, a few times a year where parents who are looking for support, or if they have newly identified students have come out or questioning or anything, where parents can go to meet other parents to connect and maybe just get some information or supports or whatever. That was one of the suggestions. Another suggestion was potentially to kind of put the committee on hold. So maintain, we will have, you know, officially say we have this committee. However, it's not currently doing anything at the moment. But if something does arise, or if there's any, you know, need, there is already that in place so that it could pick up and support families as needed. Also open to any other suggestions because it is a PIC subcommittee. So it's your committee to determine how you think it would best serve students and families. So that's the update. And we're just putting it out to the PIC to see what you would like to do with it. Did I do anything, Bob?
No, I mean, it's really good. And how this basically relates back to each of your schools is, I guess, to get an understanding or a feeling from the parents and all that from your individual areas about the kind of supports that they would need or they're looking for. And basically, as it's been put, like it's your subcommittee, so you can, you know, I don't know if you can decide right this minute or if you want to go back and get feedback, and then come with what you all feel it should do. Anywhere from it's on hold until there's an issue, or is this something where parents need some kind of support where they can get some fellowship, you know, some common talking. So it's wide open. And the committee over the last few years has done great work. But we're sort of at that tipping point. Okay, so what next? And so that's really what I think we need to hear from you.
Amber, Molly Brandt, Pickup, and SAC Chair. So it needs to exist. Parents and caregivers and allies of those within our school community who do belong to this group need to have an open space where they can go and discuss things about how to better support, because the more support we have for the students, the better they can do within education, and it's way too vital to disband. But a lot of people don't know it exists. So many people don't know. I only found out about it at the very end of last year. And I came out as an ally to one meeting, but there was technological issues and I couldn't connect through Zoom. I feel like promoting it would be beneficial if we do continue to move forward, because a lot of families do not know it exists.
Marcia Valente, LaSalle Intermediate Secondary School. What did the committee do last year to give a little bit of context? Like, was it an actual meeting with agendas, or was it more of an open, or was there not any meetings at all?
It was more open. We did have, there would be a couple things on the agenda if something was brought up, but otherwise it's an open place for families to connect.
I think then at the very least, we keep it at the minimum as to that, so that there is that, and try and, you know, put it out there for school communities. I know our school has a newsletter that I'll ask for it to be put in, no problem. But if schools have that, that's always a way of getting that information out too.
I will say, full disclosure, we didn't advertise nearly as extensively as we had in years past. So that's on me, because technically I was chair. But we did discuss that as an option, like maybe people just aren't fully aware. We did have a couple of people who did come and then asked if they got paid to participate because it was called a focus group. And so maybe we need to change the name of it so that maybe change the actual official, what we call it.
So no payment, is that what you're saying?
Hi, I'm Shayla Joyful. I'm one of your committee dropouts because my kid is taking bagpipe lessons at the same time as the committee meeting. Always something new. When I think about where the committee has been really beneficial, other than in the first year that we met, there was so many things going on. It was gender neutral washrooms. It was like everything was on fire. It was the pandemic, and we ran really fast at trying to fix a lot of things, and the board was really responsive, and it was great. Not to make it sound like everything is wonderful all the time everywhere, but it felt like we got a lot of traction really quickly. Outside of that, like, I think about the committee and like my kid and the things that have been really helpful and nice. I'm thinking like we had a button making event where we got pizza and we made a whole bunch of rainbow buttons for Pride, and all of the kids hung out with each other and like got to be kids with each other without any pressure or stress or anything like that. I feel like even if we take away the word focus group, because I agree that it's getting weird spam on the internet, pick up promotion, and I'm happy to help with that, even if I can't come to meetings. Maybe if we have kind of the formal meetings less frequently, but have more in-person, just connection and gathering, it's serving a purpose, right? And I feel like if people are having issues or need support, it comes up more organically when you're sitting around eating pizza with each other rather than looking at each other on Teams trying to run a meeting. And I know attendance has dropped off. The last year that I chaired it, it felt awkward sometimes having a meeting and not really knowing what to talk about. But Trustee Godkin pointed out almost every meeting that having the space there for people said something and meant something is all. And I don't want to lose that. Maybe I'm being selfish, but I don't want it to go away, even if I can't come every time.
They're my favorite meetings to attend. It's the most welcoming.
Yeah.
So true, because it's not structured. I mean, one of the best things we had where it's talk, but it creates an environment where you don't have to be careful what you're saying, right? So you can speak your truth. And, some people get a good laugh out of that and others, but it's about building comfort so that participants don't feel weird. I mean, this is part of life, right? Part of my life.
I'm gonna reference something that's online, but then I actually have a question for Shayla too. So Rebecca from Trudell is asking about ongoing advertisement within school newsletters to kind of make that awareness for this. I think that's definitely something that we can put together and just have sort of a standard advertisement of the group that can be going out, and hopefully in those newsletters, if people who are running their school social media pages even share that type of stuff on our public facing PIC page as well, advertising a bit more. I think that's very reasonable request to do, and that makes sense. Makes sense even without this conversation, to be honest. So I'm happy to put something together in Canva and we can use that. I don't know fully about this here. Leah is asking about like these staff groups.
There's a staff affinity groups.
Okay.
So she's indicating that maybe change the name to something like that. That's her suggestion. Online.
To an affinity group?
I'm not familiar with that, so would also be helpful to expand the purpose to families who have non-traditional family structures. Yes, okay. And Rebecca's just confirming about the Facebook groups and things like that. Okay. Shayla, my question for you, you were mentioning sort of work that was being done at the beginning and the board's responsiveness. Are you able to give any examples about like what type of things happened?
Yeah, I am probably gonna forget some things. but-
Sorry, puts you on the spot.
Fill me in. So we had, I'll speak her praises, even though she's not here. Constance Carrier-Prill picked up our parent chair role pretty much immediately, and she is brilliant, a lot of lived experience, very organized. And then she decided to go back to law school, so we lost her. But she and Ruby Snyder, who is also brilliant and great, they both had secondary age students, and so they had a really direct line, I think, to some challenges in schools. And it was things like nothing really like intentionally, people weren't on the south side trying to make things difficult for students in any way, shape, or form, but like gender neutral washrooms were kind of newer in school settings, and they were great, and people put a bunch of pride flags up on them, and then the kids who did not want to be outed using a gender neutral washroom for any reason were no longer using the washrooms. The human rights reporting tool was brand new, and there were some hiccups, I think, getting through that. The board had never walked in a pride parade until that year, and Patty came along and made that happen with excellent speed. What else?
There was dead naming happening with
Right.
second, with supply teachers in particular.
Yeah.
And the board
Um,
passed that.
Student athletics has been, I think, a constant one that there's been, again, a lot of advocacy around, do we need to have girls teams and boys teams? Where do people go if they are gender neutral? They don't fit in one place or another, don't want to have to make that decision. Field trips was another one. There's a facility that had some really non-affirming language. And again, there's a lot of advocacy between the committee, and Patty jumped in on that one too. And they changed at least the wording on their website. So when you went there, you weren't confronted with what a traditional family is. Just a bunch of stuff like that. And it all kind of happened at once. And I think if we didn't have Patty in there, it probably would have lasted a little bit longer, but you were remarkably effective and very quick. A lot of people to listen alongside us. Bob and Garrett and Rob and a bunch of trustees were also really, really effective with that. So our subcommittee chairs made a presentation to the board that was kind of like a list of demands of like, here are the things that we're hearing, but it was backed up by like direct quotes and pieces from students at the time who were saying like, this is how this is hurting me. And they took action.
I don't think there's ever been a time that I have, I've made a lot of suggestions, I'll say, to the board in my years of involvement, and never have I seen so much action and intentional work done than that of the issues brought forward.
Yeah, I think it was like a perfect storm of having like senior staff support, trustee support, GSAs and schools. We had teachers, we had educators, staff representatives from elementary and secondary who sat on the committee for that first kind of gauntlet of trying to get things on track. They did a lot of work too. It was really collaborative, and it did so much. So it's kind of hard to live up to that first year that it was there, because we just hit the ground running and people listened, and it was really effective. And now, like for a while, I kind of felt like we were looking for problems. Like, okay, what can we fix now? And I had a lot of conversations with Bob about how we don't need to save the world every time, and sometimes we can just hang out and eat pizza. So that's the context of how it started, and like the bar that was set very, very high. We have the report somewhere.
There is a
It's in my email. If anyone wants to see it, we've got it, but all the issues in it have been addressed at the board level.
I think that's good. Thank you for sharing that, because I think that's helpful too for people who haven't been to any of the groups. Just like you guys have talked a lot about how it's open, but like to know that these are some of those things that come up and have come up. So that's great.
Melissa Hudson, LCVI Calvin. So what I'm just thinking, like, we're unclear, like, how to advertise it, right? Like, is it a support group? Not that we have to call it that, or is it a committee that does actions? So I think maybe there's some people who might not like the idea of a meeting more structured. And so maybe it's a gathering place, and that it could have like subcommittee that if topics come up and people want to like do action, then they have like an action subcommittee. But that way we're not scaring people away who are just there hoping to connect with other families. Might not want like a more formal committee.
We had discussed that as the this as a, it's a place for parents to connect or, it's, and
Yeah.
get support. And then presumably whoever's chairing would know how to action any things or bring things if they require PIC's attention or anything like that.
It sounds like
Is that the
the
decision then?
consensus is that the group stays. Sorry.
Sorry, Meg Redmond, Barrage Public School and Barrage Secondary. I have a couple questions. Is there like a regular, these are things I should know. And I say that as somebody who lives in what is colloquially referred to at our school as the Rainbow House. And I don't know. And so I don't know if there's a regular meeting. I don't know whether it's virtual or in person. I don't know who's included. When the group first sort of began and I was aware of it, the verbiage was something to the effect of for families of students who are identify as these things. And A, that requires you as a parent to out your student as identifying as those things. And B, it doesn't necessarily welcome allies or even parents who identify that way. So I guess I've asked a lot of questions all at once and I'm sorry about that. But those are the things I'm curious about.
Well, it'll be what the PIC decides it wants it to be, right?
Yeah.
We have had all of.
Historically, what is it?
Situations.
So what the meeting
We have
schedule has been.
First, the second
Second
Tuesday
Tuesday.
of every month.
Of every month. That is what it has been.
And optional whether join online or if you joined me here.
Yes. I came to the one to meet people and there was pizza.
You like that one? That was,
And in person was at the board.
yeah, it's always here, yeah.
Mark
Yeah.
Foster, Henderson, Acadie, and Frontenac. I think most groups are what they choose to make of it, right? Like, and so if there is basically Bob, at this point, like whoever comes can then to say, well, let's do this and let's do that. Like, I don't think it's our place to then say, well, no, this group is for doing this because we say it is. So, yeah, like with any group of people, let them figure it out.
Exactly, and just one point that about outing, right? I mean, that's something that we bring up a lot, and I bring up a lot. And that's not like when we're in that group setting, it's not about outing anybody. And particularly if we talk about, because there's me, I'm part of that community. And so we really do stress the importance that in the spectrum of people, we're all at different levels. So the idea is never to use the group in such a way that would cause or make someone have to be out either personally or their children. So it's not about that. It's just about fellowship. You've got a safe space to talk. Something happens in the school that maybe none of us are aware about, including Patty. It's a good place to bring it up. And if you do bring it up, like for myself as a trustee, I don't go then back to the board and say, oh, well, such and such, these people, their names and all this. No, it's looking at a broader spectrum, right? Oh, an issue has been raised. Did you hear about, we're having some things there. So it's kept very non-specific, unless, of course, I mean, if you're specifically talking about something, then as a trustee, I will go to the senior staff that should know about that. And again, it's not broadcasted publicly, but it's like, oh, we have this problem. So it's so multifaceted, the meetings, right? And as you're saying, about you make it what you want. Basically, the way it has been, you come there, we rarely have an agenda,
Yeah.
right? And so,
If we do, it's just a point or two.
yeah, and so it's just that going around, does anybody have anything? And we talk, and like one time we talked, for example, about the importance of when we're educating within our community, right? Like I'm gay, but the point that we were talking about that time is that there's an assumption, there's a false assumption that if you're part of the rainbow community, that you all agree with each other. And that's totally false. And so therefore, we have to also look at the opportunities of educating each other and making each other aware. So there's an awareness component to that as well, that we hope, because that's important as parents and everything, that we develop an understanding, right? That we don't go with some false thing that, oh, everything is just great, when, well, no, actually, we need to choose some work over here within our own community. So it's just so open.
Typically, do kids come with their parents or a mix or not?
Typically, can't go before we're making buttons, all the kids can. So again, it's almost like was mentioned, it's fluid, right? So if there's a specific thing at the mind where bring the kids, then kids would come. Other than that, they would be parents, caregivers, allies, staff.
We had a couple students who
Yeah.
attended quite regularly with their parents. Who were,
Good input,
had
yeah.
incredible input for.
Yeah, they're not excluded.
Melissa and then Amber.
So one, would childcare be provided through PIC funds like we do for this meeting? Or I'm not sure how we do childcare for,
Parents are there with the kids, so.
okay, I'm just saying if you wanted to split off.
They're-
And then I like the name, like I like fellowship, like that could be a great name for something like this. I think it's welcoming.
Amber?
Amber Ewart, Molly Brandt. So along the lines of verbiage, we could always call it the collective action group because that does encompass action in itself. But one of the points of action can also be the social aspect. So that like term kind of involves it. Your question about whether it be families, I don't know what it officially was in the past, but how it was described to me was that it was for families and allies within the Limestone District. So that's why I joined last year, because it was pitched to me as, go, you support this community within our school system, go be there. And so like, I didn't know that it was only supposed to be, I showed up as an ally.
Oh, that's great.
But, you know, as you mentioned, like, you know, some families and students and stuff like that with the bathrooms and how they didn't want to feel outed by using the bathrooms, having this group and having this connection to the board. There's a difference between accepting and embracing, right? So I would love to hope that all of our schools accept the LGBTQ community, but like, there's a difference between accepting and embracing. And so they may not feel comfortable speaking up for themselves at their school level for whatever reason. So having that open door to the board in this space is vital so that they feel comfortable. And with it being a group that's specifically designed for that, will give them the freedom to do so.
Apologize, Melissa, I couldn't see your hand. Melissa can speak in just a moment. There's one thing online I'm gonna reference here as well. And then I think this is an important discussion and it's great that everybody is engaged and participated in this. So I think I don't want to like necessarily stop this conversation, but for the purpose of time, we will have to sort of pause this. And I think in general, the group it sounds like everybody wants this group to remain, sees the value in the group. And so we can continue to work to see how this evolves and what this looks like going forward. But before we move on, Melissa, go ahead.
Melissa, virtual school. We get used to saying that. So you did say there was a virtual link to it as well, so parents can or kids can join online. So I'm not sure if people know with the virtual school, it's actually 2 different boards combined to make the school. Can the other board, students in that school join as well, or is it just for Limestone?
I'd say Limestone because it's a Limestone District School Board Parent Involvement Committee.
It's run through Limestone, but there's another board that joins. So I just wanted to make sure before I pitch it out that I'm stating it's only for Limestone students.
What is the?
I don't fully know how that works
Where
with
is it
that.
pitching? I'm
They're still
sorry.
they're still considered students of their other boards, though. They're not considered Limestone students. So I would think for the purpose of this,
It would
would be Limestone families and Limestone students. Not to say that, you know, if you put on a big event or something like that, that you would say, hey, can we? Whatever it may be.
I just want to make sure if I post it, that I get the right saying that it's only for Limestone students, which I don't know if I would post it because I think that would,
That might be, yeah,
Yeah.
that might be a tough thing to try.
I just wanted to make sure.
That, no, that, I didn't know about the virtual. Rebecca was suggesting that we host a meeting or open discussion space to collect ideas. Or alternatively using like a Google Doc forum to gather that. So I think both of those are reasonable options that we can look into doing, because I do think it is like continuing this conversation about what this looks like, and sort of future of the group, what the groups can be called, how often, the purpose, all of these things, that I think that's important that we continue to have these conversations, and that in general, it sounds like the group will remain. So which would mean the next meeting would be, oh, my calendar. And we'll advertise this on our public PIC page.
The 11th of November.
11th.
So no,
That's not a great day
No.
to do that. I'll leave that with you. Are you technically the chair of the group?
I get, yeah.
Okay,
I
we will circle back to the date of the next meeting. Thank you, everybody. It's definitely a meaningful conversation to have everybody participate in. We talked. I don't know if everyone can hear. She's up here whispering about the time, but that's fine. I think there's a conversation that needed to happen, and it wasn't like we were forcing people to talk, so that is great. So, okay, so then we're going to touch point 5, elections and roll confirmations. So 5.1, election of new PIC co-chair. I think anybody who's in the private Facebook group, which actually I guess we'll circle back on that later too, for those of you who are not, will have seen our sort of call outs to announce that we did not receive any bio nominations when that call went out. We have no official at the moment in, but there might be one coming by the sounds of it. So okay. She signed in under Lowborough. Polly Wilson, who signed in as under Lowborough. As a PIC rep, but maybe her principal has not confirmed this status. Not to throw the principals under the bus, but we're missing a lot of information. From multiple schools. We don't have a response at all. So she'll submit that by the sounds of that, and then we'll keep you guys posted. Is there anybody in the room that has been holding back, waiting for a moment to grace us with their?
We have a couple of key contenders who can avoid eye contact with.
I may or may not have made a joke to Mark last night about how he is holding the rep position for 3 schools, and I thought it might be a strategy to tell us that he's too busy to be a co-chair.
Not raising my hand to self-nominate, I'm raising my hand to ask a question.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, Shayla and Joycel chaired for 3 years in a row, still taking a break. If people want to nominate, would it be for the next meeting then? Like what, if
Yes.
anyone here is like, yes,
Yeah.
I really do want to.
So that process is outlined in our bylaws, does involve submitting a bio. It also in our bylaws does indicate that sort of like first pick, so to speak, of this role is that somebody within this group, meaning that this person either currently holds, or I suppose last year possibly would have held a PIC rep position, but under legally, it's actually open to everybody in the board. So it makes sense that people who are involved with PIC would naturally be the better fit for doing a PIC co-chair position. That's not to say that if you have any involvement in any type of council roles in the past, that you wouldn't be a great candidate to. So yes, basically
So voting or claiming.
voting and claiming in that is the next meeting. So Patty will receive the bio. Essentially vet qualifications, for lack of a better word, I guess.
Literally, the
There's a
vetting means
description.
confirming they are a Lansing District School Board.
Yeah.
candidate. That is all the vetting that the board.
Yeah, really.
And then the PIC is able to look at, sorry, I'm kind of taking over.
No, this is good. Yep.
The PIC is able to look at the candidates who put their names forward to see if they actually would, do meet what was outlined as an ideal candidate. So, ideally you want someone who has that experience with the PIC, who has the knowledge and the understanding and who has, made some connections so that, because there is it is very different from school council chairing, because you're at the board level. And so there is a lot of stuff to learn, and the experience is really important there. And I told Virginia I was gonna throw this in there, so I am just going to. Kurt, well, as of the meeting, the beginning of the meeting, there were no nominations, which means technically at this point, we have no one to chair next year. There's a reason they are 2 years and that they overlap, and that's because there is the learning period there. The board, this is a board committee, it's a board level committee, which means the board is legally required for this committee to exist. If we do not have someone that we have designated to chair the committee, the board will legally have to appoint a parent to chair the committee next year. If we have not put someone in that place. So just stressing how important it is that.
Yeah, and I'm gonna just put it out there that my level of involvement last year was not typical of a first year co-chair. That's what worked for us. So that's why that looked the way that it did. But essentially in that first year, you're like a shadow, really. You're just observing what's going on. You get to see the emails that come through. You're part of the conversations. You're included in decision making where you feel comfortable. You're that shadow. You're learning. So I just want to throw that out there because I think that this particular situation, yes, I don't want anyone to necessarily view my level of participation last year as what would be expected of them. So my intentions with this, which I'm going to continue with, and not we have a potential bio being submitted by somebody, but I'm still going to move forward with my original intention is that I'm going to share on our public PIC page that as of the beginning of this meeting, we had not had anybody come forward at the beginning. And so that way it is out there so that if there's others who might be interested, that they recognize that they could potentially consider that too. And then we'll just keep you guys posted on if Holly does submit, if anybody else comes forward, either out of the group themselves or what that looks like, and we'll keep you guys posted on that. 5.2, election of administrative officer. So if you read through the comprehensive bylaws that were done, there was shout out to everyone who our working group did dwindle down. Not that happened. We had lots of people in the working group. It did dwindle down. But the people who were part of it from at any point participated, gave feedback, and then everybody that has sat in this room has given feedback too. Or whether it was direct conversation feedback about the bylaws and what they wanted to see, or whether it was during those collaborative conversations that we were having that group work. So thank you everybody for everything that you did give in terms of that, because that was all heard and all very much considered, and hopefully, well, it was all approved. So clearly it met its mark in some way, but But they're in those bylaws, at the end of them were appendices talking about role descriptions. And one of the things last year that did come up was about like additional roles. So we put forward into this the option of having administrative officer role. And you don't have these today because we haven't signed these yet. But if you received that email when it went out for review, you hopefully would. Are we on the website?
Yeah.
Oh, there's a draft on the board website right now of all of this. Oh, perfect. So overview and purpose of the role. The administrative officer is an optional elected officer role designed to strengthen PIC's communication records and organizational transparency. The PIC co-chairs see the minutes before you guys do, and I'm up here scribbling things as meetings go. Sometimes afterwards, my notes make sense, sometimes they don't. But just to kind of add a bit more support to the PIC co-chairs. And if you remember last year, Shayla at one point was using our, what do we call that? Uh-oh. The tracking.
Documents.
Yes, our tracking documents, which we'll see that again at next meeting. And just that type of support to the group. And so that just, I think, helps a little bit and allows the co-chairs to focus on some other things while getting support with these pieces. So yes, so I don't know if there's anybody who had any interest in supporting co-chairs, or anybody wants to nominate anybody to support the co-chairs.
I'm interested in nominating someone if no one self-nominates for the position. Let's nominate Shayla.
I'll second the nomination.
Sorry, I was looking at the screen to see if anyone put their hand up. Right.
I don't think there's anybody online that is expressing interest in that. Shayla, do you accept her nomination? What do you think?
Will save me from having you look at me for co-chair. I'm happy to do it. So I'm really not selling the co-chair thing. I'm happy to help.
I don't think it's a lack of selling. I think you've done this already.
Yeah, no, we need to let other people have a turn. I
Yeah.
don't have my laptop ever on, but I'm taking notes and I will put it in the Google thing.
Perfect. Fantastic. So. Great.
Actually, a claim.
Officially claimed. Okay, fantastic. 5.3, confirmation of our community representatives. So you may remember last year, we had Jess from the health unit. Oh my gosh, my brain. What was the health unit calling themselves last year? Oh, CHOOP, Southeast Health Unit. So it was KFLA Public Health, that was a temporary CHOO, Southeast Health Unit. Now officially, as of a couple of weeks ago, Southeast Public Health. So Jess sat in that position last year. We sent an email out to the manager of the school team at Public Health, asking if Public Health wanted to continue with having somebody as a community rep in the group. That invitation was met with confirmation of interest. And so we do have Peter here today. Welcome. And then I think on paper, we had Keys down as a community rep last year, but I don't know if we really actually had a contact or anything. So we followed up with Keys to see whether or not there was anybody who wanted to reclaim that community seat, also received confirmation back. And so at the back of the room, we have Zainab from Keys. Welcome. So I have explained to the two of them that little bit sort of how this works in terms of going forward after today's meeting, that there will be standing agenda space held for them, provide any reports to the group that they might have, but also space saved so that as a group, we can ask them questions as well. So I don't know if, would you guys want to say anything, introduce yourselves, anything today? Not to may say that you have to, but you're welcome to.
Sure. Hi, my name is Peter Pierce. I am a public health nurse on our school health team. And I've been doing that for a few years now, so I have a portfolio of schools that I look sort of most responsible for. I don't work with all of the different schools, but I'm happy to be here and to meet where I can.
And hello, my name is Zainab. I work at Keys. I'm one of 4 newly settlement workers in schools, but we're still establishing that. We were previously known as Newcomer Child and Youth Integration Team. And we basically work with newcomer families who arrive in Kingston, and we kind of give them an overview of how the education system works here. And we support them through the registration process. And we are the bridge between the families and the school and helping them with communication and supporting the multi-language learner team with supporting the students as well. I'm very excited to be here.
Thank you, both of you, for accepting and for joining us this year. So as per our bylaws, we do have space for up to 3 community representatives. The community representatives are not just here to present to the group, but they actually hold voting privileges as well. So in conversations where the group is going to end up voting on a topic, they each do hold an individual vote as well. So we do have potential to bring in a 3rd community representative. So there is one suggestion online about seeing if there's any representatives from One Roof, which is Youth Wellness Hub, see whether or not they have any interest in joining us. Before reaching out to them, though, I did want to basically invite everybody to consider if there's anybody that they thought for that organization wise that they would like to see or like to extend an invitation to. So when I send the recap email out after this meeting, you'll be invited to give some feedback within a designated time about potentials for that 3rd seat. We don't have to have the 3rd seat filled, but if there's suggestions and interest, then we can also do that as well. Yes, also, please, understanding of why your suggestions of organizations or individuals would be a good fit. We'll put that in there as well. All right, I think, were you gonna have a question?
So possible suggestion would be somebody from the Kingston Native Languages.
Okay,
I probably did not say the whole name properly for me. Sorry, Amber Grant.
somebody is typing something, so before I move on, I'm going to wait a moment. It disappeared. Okay. We'll keep watching, see if that comes up. I have work connections for, well, both of those suggestions, actually. I have some work connections with, so I think that'll be easy enough if we decide we want to send out that invitation to figure out who to connect with there. So, but like I said, in the recap email, I will open invitation for others to give some suggestions. So if there's anybody that you would like to see, then let me know. Item 6, chair report. First thing on there was call for program subcommittee members. So the schools have received information. Say all those words. Program subcommittee members. I don't know. Sorry, it's been a really long week. So as mentioned, the subcommittee last year was responsible for reviewing applications and making those approvals and supporting that work that was being done. So the schools have received the applications this year. So last year, one of the things that was discussed within that subcommittee was about timelines and how to make the work fit for those who were holding those responsibilities. So there were some changes that happened this year. And so the schools have already received the information. So for anybody who also is chair of your council, but also for those who pick reps, might want to, if your principal has not shared this yet, we maybe give a little nudge because we'd like schools to start thinking about that. Yep.
Can we actually just roll out so that moving forward, we send it to the school council chairs as well as the administration, because a lot of times there's delays in getting the information.
So it comes out from the board level. There's the initial email. And then last year, I also pushed it out to all the reps.
Yeah.
With the way this year has started, there is a little bit of lag in knowing who all the reps are and everything. So at the moment, it has only gone from the board to the schools directly. But if there's no reason why the chairs could not be included with that, I don't think. And then whether or not it's from the board level or when we send our follow-up out as well. Yeah, I think that makes sense. In terms of the application, very similar, just with trying to categorize some of these initiatives. So you'll see that when you see the application. And there's some periods just to make note of. So the application period is open, which means that we could accept applications right now. We don't have any yet, but we could potentially if there was a school that had fully put this out and had something ready to go. The review of the applications will be broken into review periods, which is November 4th through the 7th. We'll review their applications submitted prior to November 4th, December 2nd to 5th, January 13 to 16. Final day to submit is February 16, and the final review period is February 17 to 20. So the other timelines in terms of they'll have until May 22nd, final spending deadline and submit report May 29. That part will stay the same, but the breakdown of identified review periods is hoping to allow the subcommittee to not feel like they're at the beck and call of these things all the time, because it felt a little bit like that last year. And just for awareness, what we ended up trialing last year, which I think worked pretty well, was we basically created a tracking document through the PIC's Google Drive. And when an application would come in, it comes in through the PIC co-chair account. So when that would come in, then that information would be transcribed into this tracking tool, and then the members were all able to view the applications, and we could each indicate our thoughts on it and then categories to finalize what was approved or whether there's questions and all of that. So, yeah.
Sorry, Meg from Barrage Public and Barrage Secondary. I missed some of those dates. Can you just repeat the windows again?
The review periods.
Yeah.
So the subcommittee will review November 4th through 7th, December 2nd through 5th, January 13th through 16th, with a final application on the 16th of February, with a final review period of February 17th through 20. So ideally, we would have 3 to 4 people as part of this review subcommittee. And I'm hoping that with now identifying what this would look like from a workload perspective, that makes that easier for people to want to participate. Amber?
Amber, you're Molly Grant. So to clarify, that final day to submit, when we're reviewing them and accepting or denying, are they being informed then? Or are we waiting and telling everybody on the 17th?
So everybody would, so if the school submitted before November 4th,
Mhm.
then the school will be notified by November 8th.
Okay, so when they get accepted or
Exactly.
not,
Yeah.
they would be notified then.
Thank you.
And they can still submit between the 4th and the 7th,
Yeah.
but the group just won't
Yeah.
be reviewing those ones until the next window. Or at least they won't be obligated to review it until that next window. Yeah, I think, yes, sorry, I saw like a movement. I can't remember what.
Marshall and Taylor Sal. But if you got to the final review period and the whole budget had been spent, then the budget's spent. Is that correct? It's like there's
Yes,
X amount of
yes,
dollars.
yeah.
Okay.
I don't have the number at the moment in front of me of what we have available, but we'll have that for the group next meeting, possibly in a recap email, depending how quickly get access to that number. But yes, each year it has been the approach, well, not, I guess each year, but yeah. Yes, we can include the pro application in the meeting summary to the reps. But I think there was pretty much each year it's been like first come, first serve.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Like I don't know if there's ever been a time where,
When, but the first year we took it over, we said, okay, we have this many schools and this much money, so we broke down, how much each could get. But
up to $1,000 max, that's pretty
That's
sure.
assuming they
That was
don't
only that
apply,
year.
which might be optimistic.
Yes. And each school is entitled to that. We do have a couple schools that, like as an example, Calvin Park and LCVI are separate schools. But Ernest Town, as an example, they're intermediate and they're high school, they're actually one school. The same thing with LaSalle. So they are, despite having both age groups, they are one school each, so they would get one application. Whereas, like I said, Calvin and LC would technically each be entitled to their own application. Amber?
Amber Mullibrand. So I'm assuming that all the information will come through with the information for the admin and then ideally us. But
Yeah.
preemptively, is there a detailed description of what program funding is, what it can be used for somewhere for?
So
people to look-
last year, I
Last-
tried to get a bit more details from everybody about what initiatives they were doing and things like that. So that will be included with the information sent out to the reps and whatever chairs we have access to as well. Yeah.
I fully admit, I'm
Yeah,
our
and-
chairs, or our school's chair, and I have been plotting over the summer
Yes.
what I want to do for the program. But I couldn't actually open the document. So there's the program application listed on the document on the board website. And when I used my smartphone, I couldn't open it up. And it's comes up server error every single time.
Okay, we have things saved as well, linked through our drive that we can also, but we'll look into that.
Thank you.
One thing that in hopes to, as we continue to build that library of past events for a resource, we'll continue to collect the information. That'll continue to grow. But with the application, as mentioned, there is the categories have been added in, which is sort of a little bit back to sort of when this first started. You had to fit in a category. There is the other in here as well, but just to try and help us streamline that collection of those reference resources as well. So is there anybody in the room right now that is interested in being part of that subcommittee? I'm gonna put a call out. We have one, Christy Scales, ASS and Vanier.
How much time for each? Obviously, it depends on the number of applications, but like, is it like it's an online thing that you would do then? You wouldn't have to have a
I
meeting in
think
that period?
Doing that online document worked really well last year. The group can decide whether or not they want to have like an actual scheduled meeting time to discuss. We ended up not needing to do that last year because the way I set up the document, it allowed us all to clearly indicate what our thoughts were. And then if there were ones that we were like, we need more information, we have questions, does this fit, does this not? Then what I would do is I would then email it back to the school and collect the missing information and we'd go from there. So
You didn't actually meet.
we didn't actually meet last year. We were successful to do it without, yeah. Because then it would be like, if, let's say I was awake in the middle of the night one night, I could look in and I could look at them, and I probably did that a couple times where I'd look at them, I'd write my notes, and then I'd wait for Shayla to go and do her notes, and so it was a lot more freeing to be able to do it that way.
I'm up.
I was wondering. Do what, sorry?
I'm up in the middle of the night. I can do that.
You're up in the middle of the night.
Oh, sorry. Amber, Molly Brant.
Okay.
Is that enough or do you need more?
That's 3 of you, and then I can support the group as well. Yeah, I think,
Put my name in if you need me,
If
but
you
if
need.
other people want to do it.
Okay. Okay.
If you want another, I'll do it, but I'm happy to not do it as well.
Yeah.
I'm happy to do it.
Okay. Perfect. All right.
I would say it's like a few hours max over the whole course of it. And it, Mark met with me when we did it like in a Teams meeting and it was much faster this way.
Perfect.
I
Okay.
just have one more question. Sorry, Meg from Bay Ridge and Bay Ridge. In the past, we've had the ability for schools to get together and pool their funds. Is there a limit to how many schools can get together and pool funds?
Not that I've seen.
No, so, and just so clarity, so for example, if Bay Ridge Public, Bay Ridge.
We were talking about our family of
And
schools.
Trudeau.
Yeah,
That's
and
like-
Lancaster.
Yeah,
maybe.
then if you all applied and it was $1,000 side, as long as you're explaining what it's going to.
What we're doing.
It'd be,
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think there still is that sort of like soft encouragement, we'll call it, that could be considered, because then you have more options when you connect with another group as well. So whether it's your families of schools or another school has another interest that you know somebody at, then that would be perfectly fine too. So, okay, great. We have a subcommittee with an alternate, so. We'll circle back with that. We'll confirm how you want to do that. Okay. Sorry for time. 6.2. I'm just going back to my screenshot. Okay. So PIC holds a seat on the Environmental Sustainability Advisory Committee. SAC.
Yes.
Okay. I did post about that in the private PIC group. We didn't get any takers, so we did not participate in the first meeting. It looks like there's not very many meetings through the year. It looks like there's 4 total, yeah.
I think they've already had one.
And yeah, one of them's passed already. And so the next one might be March, or you might know. Is it March 3rd, the next one?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, right, like it's a big stretch between, yeah. I had March 3rd, May 12th written down, and I don't know what the 4th date is. Maybe just 3? Okay, that makes sense. Even less of a commitment. So I'm gonna read for you the purpose that I got from wherever I got this from on the board documents. Might have been given to me, maybe. The Environmental Sustainability Advisory Committee is an advisory committee of the Limestone District School Board that provides an avenue for community involvement and receives advice and input from the community. The community may make recommendations to the board regarding the establishment and development of education programs and practices of the board that are related to environmental sustainability. Specifically, the purpose is to promote environmental sustainability education and awareness through the school board, to promote and pursue environmentally sustainable procedures, practices, operations, and initiatives, to build system capacity through enhanced partnerships, and to foster understanding of and commitment to the principles of environmental sustainability among LDSB trustees, staff, students, parents, guardians, school councils, and the public. I'll send out with the meeting recap, the sort of the full write-up that includes powers and duties and all of those items. I don't know. I have no extra knowledge than what I can read to you on this, I'll be honest. I only learned last year that this was something that we were connected with and that we had the option to participate in. I do know, okay, so I wasn't sure I should put you on the spot. I do know from speaking to Peter that he participates as public health representative. So do you mind talking a little bit about it?
Sure.
Okay, great, thank you.
So the ESAC committee, Dan Hendry, if you know him, he's done a lot with sustainable travel and stuff like that, in partnership with the school board. He does a lot, with, at the ESAC committee. It's a sort of a table where people come, together to share interesting ideas. Usually there's a presentation of something, neat that's going on sustainability wise in the school board. The last meeting, Dave Fowler from the school board, he went over some of the interesting environmental changes that have been happening with infrastructure wise within the board, looking at some of the playground redesigns that the school board has changed the way that they are like stripping wax off the floors to not use chemicals anymore, to get some of those interesting updates, things that are happening. There are also lots of different community organizations that are there. I know Sandy Pines is a newer, the animal rescue there have a seat at that table. St. Lawrence College with their sustainability group is there. Who else? The Cataraqui Conservation Authority is there as well. So it's a neat little group. Just share what's going on, or different opportunities to collaborate. Mobility type stuff. It's a pretty easy group to be a part of.
I was just gonna say that they're very friendly and it's not, there's not a stuffy group of like where it's a very formal, you know.
And those meetings are done virtually.
I'll do it. Thank you for that. Sorry, is there anybody else that was interested? I'm really excited about that, right? I will get you connected with all of that. Thank you. And then after, when we have meetings, following those meetings, then we'll look forward to hearing anything that you have to share with us. Thank you. 6.3, invitation to provide input on desired presentation and topics for the year. So one of the things last year in our collaborative discussions was talking about, you know, sort of hit and misses, so to speak, when it came to presentations that we received in previous years. And people wanting to see certain types of things. So what I'm going to do in the recap is I'm going to include a Google link for you to be able to actually make some recommendations and who you'd like to see. There'll be a part where it's already organized and it will list some board members who have specific topics that we could hear about. But there'll be also open options to have others who are not board members come as well. So if you have any suggestions, please use that. And then we can schedule people in, whether it's into these meetings, or we have held some space for additional meetings to occur through the year as we see fit. Okay. And then the other thing, 6.4, just wanted to put it out there to see if there was any other subcommittee concepts that anybody felt passionate about or wanted to see form. With a subcommittee, we only need one PIC representative to actually be part of it. And as long as we have one PIC representative, we can invite the school communities. So it doesn't have to be that the whole group is PIC reps. But we do have to have at least one in for any of them that we do form. But if there is any ideas that people have, please let me know again after that email goes out. If anyone has any ideas right now that they want to just share with the group, you're more than welcome to do that as well before we move on. You look like you have something on your mind.
Well, it's a virtual school. We tried to do it a few years ago, but a neurodivergent one, I think is really important. Maybe not focused on what we can do just to bring families together, especially new families into this community. It could be very overwhelming. I'm 8 years into it, so it's not so much now for me, but I think something like that would be very helpful.
Shayla, Driscoll, I agree, and I'm part of the failure last time, and I think it is, again, that trying to save the world problem, and I think you're right, we just need to.
Yeah.
Anything that will come out of it will be organic, I think, but it would be great just to have some space.
I think so, just to help.
Happy to do that. Okay, well. Done. Sounds like you will be the pick leads on that. We'll talk afterwards, okay? That's great. Great. Does anyone else have any other thoughts that they want to share in regards to the, oh,
It was just Marshall LaSalle. I was just gonna say, when you put the word meeting in something, people run the opposite direction. And I think it's important to have, I like the word fellowship, but I like the fellowship idea of whatever people want to talk about. Because when you sit down, my kids are heavily involved in sports, but when I talk to other parents, usually whatever I'm dealing with, they're dealing with too. And some of the issues we talked about today are important, but a meeting of venue like this isn't going to serve purpose. But if we push the fellowship part, I think we'll get more engagement from our parents as a whole, rather than the meeting word. I'm trying that with our own school this year, so.
okay. When I send the email out, if anyone has any other ideas, then we can look into those options as well. I'm wondering if we shuffle this, have you guys speak your updates, and then, because this could very easily be next week too. Okay, so we're gonna make a slight adjustment in order. Bypass the pick rep role review for a moment. And then if we, from purpose of time, don't do that this meeting, I think it's perfectly acceptable that we go over that at the next meeting. It's only, I think, 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks away anyways. Yeah, and we're still have some, and yeah, there's many not identified pick reps as well still, so, okay. Yeah, I move on to you. Oh, hang on. Oh, sorry. Okay, yeah, perfect.
You can read that.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Patty Gollagley, and I'm Associate Superintendent of Safe Schools, and also have responsibilities of families of schools as well, the Ernestown Family of Schools, and new this year, the Bay Ridge Schools. It's been a very busy fall across Limestone, but it's been filled with lots of learning, leadership, and community connection. The LDSB student trustees and members of the Interschool Council met with Youth United. The LDSB Interschool Council is focusing some efforts on raising funds this fall for the United Way campaign. These students will be doing a Seeing is Believing tour in October. Schools across Limestone marked Orange Shirt Day and Treaties Recognition Week through assemblies, classrooms, learning, and community partnerships, reinforcing our shared commitment to truth, reconciliation, and learning from Indigenous voices. Classes also have taken part in a lot of outdoor activities and programs, particularly at Gold Lake Outdoor Center, connecting learning to nature and sustainability. Students have also been showcased, and we've had lots of information sessions about STEM projects, robotics and challenges, and outreach opportunities. The board has also launched the student census for 2024-2025, helping Limestone better understand and support the diversity, identities, and experiences for all students. And you will have gotten, or your students would have received that information as well. And on a side note, the furry fellow that's underneath me is Limestone Teddy. The school board has embarked on a partnership with Kingston for Paws. And Teddy spends his days in the Safe Schools program, where he works with students who come from a variety of challenges. And it's been amazing to see the difference. Teddy also goes into schools that unfortunately have had tragedies. And it's been absolutely unbelievable to see. We for an example, we had a student, it was a tragedy, brought Teddy to the school, and he went into the classroom and he sat on that student's best friend's feet. And it wasn't like you just, hey, this is the bit, like, it's amazing. The connections that the students have said and write about, and our attendance has gone up in the program. And it's been really neat to see. So this is Limestone Teddy, and he's making a big difference. And his job is just to love. So, so he'll be at some of our meetings. The teacher drops him off at the board office when he's done working every night.
Clearly had our day today, so.
He did, lots of cuddles apparently.
Are you the caregiver then for Teddy?
Yes, so he has to have a handler, so the teacher and I, we alternate of what may be going on, but most of the time, you'll see Teddy, when he's not working, he'll be with myself, or he'll be with teacher and his family.
Amber, you're Molly Brandt. Love the idea of Teddy. I think this whole program is wonderful. And I'm wondering if we have a way of addressing the signs posted at schools saying all limestone district schools are no dogs at any time. That might be a little bit misleading with it, the school board bringing a dog in. Not that I'm disagreeing with it at all. It's just, it might cause a little bit of confusion.
Yeah, I think definitely, like, as you can see with Teddy, he's a service dog, so he actually has, like, Teddy's been on an airplane with me. Teddy goes into places where where regular, dogs or other pets are not allowed to go. So because he has that identification and distinction, that would be the biggest difference. So he's not, roaming around, without that.
Oh, I just meant like, is there any information going out to the families who may have questions about those signs and then seeing a dog around the building?
If there is, I would definitely be addressed with that information saying,
Fabulous.
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So I have not questions about dog, but just in general. So I'll do myself. Mark Foster, Henderson Academy in Frontenac. Concussion protocol has changed. Would you be able to explain the change before I ask my question, I guess?
So last year, Ophia has come out with some new and updated information
Okay,
in regards to certain concussion protocols. So right now, we're in the process of updating our concussion protocol code of conduct, making sure that there's I'm not sure if I'm addressing your question, but I'll just kind of go through what we're addressing, making sure that there's a student code of conduct. There is also a parent code of conduct, and a student athlete code of conduct, because there's a bit of different things that can go on if it's an elementary school and a student has a bump on the head compared to a student who's playing football or rugby and receives a hit on the head, sort of things. And making sure that we are doing our due diligence around making sure that parents are also aware of the concussion protocol, and working together with their responsibility when there is something that may have happened, that they're aware of that. So we are actually in the midst of updating that with the new information from OPIA.
so my understanding is that if a student gets bumped on the head, they obviously get a phone call home, which is what has happened previously. My kids get bumped on their heads. But down a form needs to be signed before they're allowed to participate in recess. And my concern with that is now, in essence, punishing the kid, not for just getting hit on the head, but for going and asking for help, or, reporting it to a team. So my concern, I guess, is that it's going to then lead kids not to report because they're in essence in detention until they bring back the form signed. Which, if there's multiple recesses in a day or something happens first thing in the morning, motivation to seek help from a teacher gets dwindled.
What I would say to that is if a student comes and reports that they have hit their head and are hurt, the teacher or the administrator, there's a scripted form that is from the ministry and in Roland's law that has to take you through. And so if you answer, yes, it's hurting, or I feel dizzy or anything like that, we do have to by law make that phone call to the parents. And then the sheet actually comes home and you can sign off as a parent saying, I'm not taking them to seek medical attention.
Right.
They're fine.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is in the meantime, so that, from my understanding, is that kid cannot participate in recess at all, like basically can't participate until not the phone call, because I understand the phone call, but until the form's signed.
So and I just want to make sure, so let's say it happens at 9 AM.
Yeah, and then let's say I get the phone call at 10 after 9 because the school's wonderful and they're on the ball.
Yeah.
And I say, okay, great. Then they miss first recess and they miss second recess. And then the form comes home. And of course, I'm a good parent and I sign it right away and I send it right back. So then they can participate the next day.
Yeah.
Right. That's my understanding on the rule.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, there's sometimes where a parent will talk to the student and say, you know what, can you verbally indicate that they're fine?
Right.
And they can sign it right there, and then you also get it at home.
Okay.
But the issue is, and the concern is with concussions is, and I don't want to speak for anybody who has a medical degree, is that it does take time
Okay.
for symptoms to arise, and
Yeah.
we don't want to be in that position where you're looking fine, everything seems fine, 2 hours later, you're throwing up.
Right.
I believe somebody has their hand in it as well, so I don't mind waiting my turn.
Good.
Okay, Amber, Molly Grant. So when we're updating the concussion protocol, are we getting any kind of like training for those who are filling out the forms and the questionnaires?
Yes.
Okay, is that for everyone who will be filling out the forms and the
Yes, so
questionnaires?
actually, the questionnaire forms, to my understanding, actually doesn't have a change to them.
Okay.
It's really just making the awareness of, here is your protocol,
Yeah.
here is the code of conduct. For instance, I'm just gonna use sports as an example. At times, a student might say, oh, I'm fine. But the coach has witnessed symptoms and possibly their guardian has said, oh, they're fine. As a coach, they can say, I'm sorry, they're actually not gonna because I saw the hit and I've seen some symptoms and I respect that you want to play. But we're gonna make that call.
And will they be making that judgment call going the other way around, saying like, no, you don't know your teacher's name, you're fine to stay?
You know, if there is an injury and they have said, you know, they've identified, then we have to follow that protocol.
Is there, Marcia LaSalle, is there something as a sport parent, I don't ever remember getting a code of conduct for myself to sign on behalf of my athlete? Like when we register for other sports, there's Rowan's Law that is given to the parents and there's a code of conduct. Maybe that's something that for kids who are families that maybe haven't participated in athletics that have pushed the concussion protocol the last few years, that might be a really good thing because if you don't know, you're not educated on it. And, you know, the simple headache for a few days may be a lingering fact, but if you don't have any info. So that would be, to me, something really good to attach to school day when we fill out permissions for our kids to do sports, even just to participate in school type thing, because there's concussions that happen on the schoolyard at recess. Some education for the family component might be a really good.
I completely agree, because right now in school day, there actually is a statement in regards to it. At the bottom, when you're, as a parent, you're signing off and saying, yes. And then there is a little statement. 100% needs to be approved. He's like yourself, you have students who are athletes and you probably never noticed that might be there. So definitely making sure that that's more prevalent.
Or just an individual checkbox, like it might be a checkbox now, but something that you have to do a little more to.
Absolutely.
Jamie Clayton, Pulse Grove. Maybe worth looking in addition to that, so I love this with sports. But I think even just the registration for any child within the school board, being aware of Rowan's Law and all the ramifications and what to look for, I think would go a long way to set a precedent to awareness and cognitive ability to be able to recognize that.
So I have another question, Patty. Canteens. So at some school events, there are canteens, and I noticed again this year across country, there wasn't. As someone who fundraises, as well as a parent whose kids love sugar, and wants to motivate them to run. Who organizes that? I guess because I know Bay Ridge does it for, track and field usually. And there's different groups that do it at the various tournaments and cross country, maybe because it's on the windy hill that nobody wants to do it. But do you know who?
Yeah, my guess is due to the fact that it is at Fort Henry
Yeah.
and not attached specifically to a school.
Right.
Is my guess, but I actually don't know why they don't have, or there could be because Fort Henry doesn't allow that, or there are
Okay.
any stipulations. And that's just me
So
guessing.
is that the LASA group that I should talk to,
That
or?
would be,
Yeah,
that
okay.
you need to talk to and say, is there an opportunity here to have?
I mean, because I would say 500 kids probably over the 4 days or whatever were there. So, okay. My last question is about the junior sports emails that we got this fall. You're laughing because everybody laughs about it. And I think it's ridiculous that the joke of the fall has been that we've all misread this email. Because everybody laughs about it. And I think it's terrible that we've gotten an email from the school board and we're all pretending that it didn't say what it's actually said, and that we were, gaslit to believe that it was something different, and that the reason for the change was because of just we misinterpreted it. So I guess my question, first of all, is does anybody else read these before they're sent out? Because this one was sent out by a superintendent. Normally, they're not signed by specific people, except the odd one from the director. Yeah, I guess that's my first question. Was this approved to be sent out, or do superintendents send out emails without being read by others, or
No, that would have been approved by, I don't think.
a team of people?
Yeah, a team of people.
And I don't want to ask you if you were involved with that, but
Unfortunately, I was actually on leave.
Okay.
I'm gonna say fortunately,
This time, I should say, I was on leave. I had a surgery, but from what I'm understanding of the process, and that's not me actually trying to avoid the question by any means.
right.
But I can actually say I really was not involved. But no, a team, my understanding, a team of people. Do I agree with you? It was not communicated well at all.
Well, but what was communicated was that we misinterpreted what was said. And this was communicated not only to us through this letter, it was communicated to principals and staff. And there was, they had meetings, there was very much under the understanding. And even on the most recent one, there still isn't the ultimate Frisbee tournament listed. So again, am I misunderstanding this? Because my principal says, oh no, we're doing ultimate. Well, the email says we aren't. So now going forward, I'm at the point where who's going to interpret these emails that I get from the school board, because they haven't been interpreted properly in the past.
So my understanding for your ultimate
Yeah.
example is that it's not a LESA certified sport. So
Okay.
it's not necessarily would happen at every school. But it's not a sport that would be considered something that you would have during instructional time.
So it has been, so in I don't know the day off the top of my head, but we went to a tournament day at John Nation where ultimate was played by multiple different schools in the school day. So I don't know if there was less of referees there. That's a good question, but
My understanding.
it was a school, it was during school day, and it was participated by multiple limestone schools. Okay.
I would say, so I apologize because you said that and I smirked and chuckled a little bit, and not because I'm laughing at you.
No, it's
And
everybody
like, and
laughs.
I
It's a
know,
joke. Like,
and it's not because I think it's a joke either. Like, it's
Right.
not. It was just more, I was like, here we are. Here is this point. It was, so I just want to be clear that my response to that is not because I think this is a joke by any means. And I've already shared this with you, but for transparency to the whole group. I've had multiple people say to me that they felt the board was gaslighting them, as Mark also used those words, when that response came out. I don't have junior students anymore. I did not get these emails firsthand, but I can tell you I got them. Because people, like, I have people within my building at work rush to my work area and be, do you see this? What is this? It's something that definitely, that first round of the email, it really struck a nerve. And people had big feelings, and rightfully so. And then I think that second round, when the next email came out, as an uninvolved party who's just observing, I think definitely it was unfortunate. I think the way that was handled, and I know at the beginning I was saying we're allies. We are allies. We are allies. But as I said, sometimes we don't agree with each other, and sometimes we have hard conversations.
No,
So I want to acknowledge that.
I think we can agree it was mishandled.
That it was, and people amongst, like, there were lots of families that felt very strongly about that. And Mark is in this room and feels comfortable sharing that, but it definitely was one that I personally heard a lot about that from people too. Yeah, and that term gaslighting, unfortunately, was a common reaction too.
And I apologize for the, you know, that however it was formed and went out and the harm that it caused, because as you said, you know, we want to work together and it's not, you know, absolutely, we've done things that aren't right, and definitely want to learn from them and, you know, correct them in any way we can, to not cause that.
Yeah.
So I absolutely do apologize, of how that whole, process, went out. And any way that I can help try to clarify or anything, I absolutely will. Because, yeah, we want to work together and 100% not perfect at all. But definitely want to move it forward, make that good.
Yeah, I want to add that, like, you know, one of the things in the first email was talking about how it is a lot of the same students, and I agree with that. I mean, my daughter, you know, fortunately was part of a lot last year, but I also then attended the things and witnessed how, frankly, they do a good job. Like, as much as people would think that, people like to say that, you know, school board wouldn't do a good job and it would all be about participation. No, I think they do a fantastic job of running these events, and it would have really been unfortunate if it disappeared for whatever reason. So yeah, I just wanted to add that.
Amber, Molly Brand, to follow up on that, it was not even just the, for lack of a better term, gaslighting of the parents. It was the miscommunication and just complete neglect of informing the staff of what was going on as well, because if a staff member was not a parent, they didn't get the information. And so the backlash also happened where we were all up in arms, respectfully and rightfully so. And then we were asking our questions to staff who had no idea and were either going off of no information or completely misinformed, or there was that trickle down of like, no, that's not what we said. We said this, you read it wrong. And I feel like we should have better open and honest and clear communication where everybody receives the same information, because that wasn't fair to us, but that also wasn't fair to the staff, because they received the brunt end of a lot of that, and it wasn't their fault.
My understanding was they knew about it ahead of time. So like the principals knew about it, and the staff knew about it. Our at Henderson, I know they met, they had a coach meeting, made a whole plan to do intramurals because we weren't doing
But they
sports.
just didn't get our email.
They didn't get the same email.
Yeah, they didn't get
for sure.
our email.
For
They
sure.
didn't understand until it was shown to them exactly what we got and why we were so upset. Sports are more than just sports. Sports are team building, they're confidence building, they're teaching people how to work together and how to win and how to lose effectively. And that's the thing that this world needs. And sports are more than just a game.
And it, you know, yes, participation is fantastic, but like getting cut from a sport is.
It teaches you something.
It's painful, but it's good for you. Like,
Well,
I
and
think
in
it's
this
part of life.
economy, when it's impossible to feed your children effectively, and I know we're not, and we've revoked that, and we're not taking it away, but the idea of taking away physical activity that is accessible to everybody in a world where we can't feed our kids healthy food and we're hanging on by a thread, it's a bad plan. And I mean, a lot of the families that I spoke to, that was it's setting families and students up for failure.
Okay, Marcia, and then we'll.
Mine's kind of a little sidestep from that. Just, I was going to bring it to our next parent council, but our high school is Sal, so I realize this is individual, but I have heard from other high schools about the emails going out to the parents about their kids missing school for school trips, missing school for athletics, missing school for other classes. And they're getting email, we've gotten emails saying your child has missed 5 days of school. The kids are getting them. At our school, numerous kids thought that they couldn't play their games that afternoon that they were set up to play for. Parents called from 2 different schools that I know, said, well, is my kid failing? Is my kid doing this? Is my kid doing that? Well, then am I supposed to say no to the school trip to this because they do this? I think that email is, and our email was a personal email from our VP, but I think that messaging, I knew about the thresholds and the ideas from coming here or going to student council meetings, but that information isn't widely out there. So for this to come as a new thing this year with no explanation behind it was a failure overall, not necessarily what happened at our school, but when the information isn't out there, we all lose out on it. And so I think it was probably, I realize kids need to be in school, but like you said, there's a lot of things that they're going to learn outside of school too. And if there's an issue, then absolutely, like if my kid's is failing, guess what? You don't get to play sports. But if they're doing all the things that they need to do and they're learning to get their assignments done and do it, they shouldn't be penalized in a way that makes them feel they're doing something wrong.
I think just on that, now I think I understand you're specifically speaking to the communication that's going to, but I believe that the director, one of the messages from the director at the beginning of the year did note again that the ministry is really stressing attendance and how important it is. There was something even about scheduling appointments outside of school hours. So
And I
just
totally,
to say it is coming from the ministry, I think the director did make that clear, but I also understand that yours was.
but not that my kid
communication,
does
but-
leadership class and ran grade 9 day and that counts as a full day of absence from school. She was on a school outing, not a sport, not an extracurricular, a course that is for credit. And yet she's marked absent and this is now a day that she's being told she's being penalized from. So not to make it personal, just there is a missing gap in there because never in my life as a parent did I think that if my kid went on a field trip or did something for a class that they missed another class for, that would count as a negative towards them.
Amber, you're at Molly Brandt. To touch on that, that attendance is important. It is. Attendance is vital. You can't learn if you're not there. But that statement about how you have to like schedule appointments outside of school hours is completely ignorant of the struggles that some families face. And I use this on myself as an example, not to say I'm the only one. Single parent, there's only me. And I have 2 kids. And so if I have to take my child to a specialist, I don't have the option of scheduling it outside. I have to go within the parameters that my work schedule allows, that my life allows. Believe me, I would love to be able to do things on the hours that I would love to, but it's just not possible sometimes. And there are many barriers, things like transportation, things like there's so many ways that could be problematic. Is it ideal if we could do it outside of school hours so they miss no school? Of course. But to try and demand that that happen is, it's just ignorant of the struggles that many families face. There are many barriers and they need to be taken into consideration, and people shouldn't be made to feel less than because they can't follow within those parameters.
I just want to acknowledge online, we do have a few comments. I think this one here is also, I don't know. There's reference from Sarah from Prince Charles, Verona, referencing about how for some of those rural schools, that those sport teams are the only teams that students can participate in. And then there's something here. And then Leah, who is saying that she had spoke to superintendent about it. And just her interpretation of that communication between the two of them, referencing it's okay to make mistakes, it's not okay to lie, using the words that are in here, and stating it's far better to acknowledge to parents and students that a decision was made too quickly and was being walked back. So I think that, thank you for the apology on behalf of the board. I for one appreciate, again, I wasn't directly impacted, but I do for one appreciate that you did provide me with that today. I see you making lots of notes on this as well. And so I'm going to put faith in that everyone's concerns and thoughts, that those notes are being taken to give that feedback where that feedback can be heard. And I want to thank you not only for listening to those feelings and thoughts that people have, but then for those of you that have shared that. Okay. 7:59. How much are you telling us today? Hard question.
Oh, we've got till 9.
If anybody has to leave, please do not feel that you have to stay. But we will hear the trustee update, and then we will close the meeting for today. And anything that we did not touch on will be pushed for later.
Oh, you know how I'm feeling, aren't you? Well, yes. Okay, so for those that don't know me, Bobby Godkin, trustee for Pittsburgh, Kingstown, and Frontenac Islands. 7th year in office. I'm also the vice chair of the board for the last 3 years. See if we'll make it 4 in November. And usually, I'm feeling pretty good because usually I talk first. And then Patty, but Patty went ahead and covered everything and took some very hard questioning that I was sitting here going, oh, I'm so glad. You must have did that on purpose. So I am very grateful. A little background, I'm in a mixed orientation marriage. I have 12 kids, 21 grandchildren, most of which are all in limestone or they're now progressed on to post-secondary. Most people in Kingston know me as Bobby that does returns at Costco, and I try and get as pleasant as I can. But on to board stuff. I took a lot of notes. I appreciate the conversation that was going on about this email thing, and to be totally honest, I wasn't aware. So just to let you know, I have a lot of questions, and I've taken a lot of notes, and so from the higher, because of what trustees, we're at the higher level. So I got some questions and, I'll follow up that as well. So thanks for that. Thanks for taking those questions. A lot of the things that I was going to say have been covered. I'm just trying to think. One thing that we did do recently that wasn't covered, of course, is that after the summer, we get a full report about all the maintenance that was done, the renos that were done in various schools. Some of your schools may, you may have seen a vast improvement. There is the odd school that actually is not completed yet. But overall, on an annual basis, projects for all the buildings are put in and then prioritized, and so that's all going smooth. Last time I was here, we talked about how the ministry was imposing absence requirements for trustees, meaning that you miss a meeting and you don't have justifiable reason, then you're termed, which of course in no other political field that exists. We were given the task of formulating a policy around that, and I think we covered all the bases and made enough room that we can maneuver through that. The other thing that's going on, and you may have heard it in the news, is that the current minister already put forward proposals of changing some bylaws and things in the ministry, whereby which has already happened in 5 major boards, where the trustees have been removed and superintendents have been, not superintendents, supervisors. Superintendents are very nice people. I guess the importance is from a PIC perspective, right? Is that the government needs to hear feedback from parents. And those organizations are things that would be affiliated to be able to understand the importance, if you sort of feel so, of having trustees. We did send out a letter to the minister, didn't get a reply, and we sent it out to a lot of others. You can find it on the, well, it should be able to find it now, because we had this discussion earlier this week, and so it's supposed to be up there. So you can actually read what we put out, and should PIC or any even smaller PICs decide that they would like to forward a letter or they'd like to do those things, greatly appreciated. Most people, believe it or not, don't know what trustees do. They just know that they go to a municipal election and, oh, there's this extra page. Oh, I should tick off some names. The importance of having locally elected trustees, we don't often talk about what we do because it's private, right? Like if you're having difficulty with your child and you have concerns, you contact your trustee contacts the appropriate person, and we hope that the outcomes are good. They've definitely influenced a lot. But we don't often talk about that because we don't want to reveal, well, this child has this problem, right? So it's all on the down low. Another thing that trustees do is when they hear a conversation that I've heard tonight is that we hold the director, he's our employee, we hold to account. So when we hear things that just don't seem right, then the 4 guys put him in kind of a hot spot because we're like, well, what's all this about? Like, how could you do that? And that's important because parents, that's our role. You tell the trustees, and we're that bridge between, because the ministry controls so much, and for senior staff, they're under a lot of pressure to follow exactly what the ministry says and all these things. Your leverage is locally elected officials who then come and say, okay, well, can we just look at that a little bit better? Like, is there a way we can go around it, or we can complain through our organizations and things like that? So I'm just putting if you want to, right, you can certainly take the opportunity as a PIC, as individual PICs, to make your feelings. If you do want to know anything more about what trustees do, contact your trustee, please, because we're all willing to let you know. The good news is, if you haven't ever experienced calling us, it's probably because everything's going pretty good for you. But for those that have had the opportunity to see things that we can do for you, then that's great. But we're certainly not going to out you or talk about the situation. And that's my report.
8:07.
Bad. Thank you. Does anyone have any question?
I'm not gonna let you get away without acknowledging, it's Virginia gave a shout out to everybody for working on bylaws, but Virginia did like the bulk of actually putting bylaws together, organizing all kinds of things for this meeting. So thank you, Virginia, and also it's Crystal's last meeting as our co-chair. So I want to thank both of you and acknowledge both of you. You're free now,
But
Virginia.
she's
you've done a
not
great
fully
job.
free because she is going to exercise her role as the past chair. So, that, you know, anyway.
Thank you both.
Okay, well, I think that we will call it at that for tonight. There's a few items that have come through the thick note, not?
I want to.
Okay, hang on. Oh, wait, that's right, sorry. That, and then I'll say what you say.
So if there's interest, I would like to, I don't know if it's table of motion or if you want to discuss it next, I don't know what, I'll just put it out there and then, but specifically it was regarding the PIC advocating or expressing a concern to the Ministry of Education regarding the current speak of that is specific only to English public boards removing trustees. It would not impact Catholic. It would not impact French. It is only English Catholic, or sorry, English public boards that they are looking at removing the democratic part of our school governance and school operation. Doesn't impact the other, it's very specific. So anyway, I am very interested in advocating and expressing to the ministry that they not proceed with that. I don't know if other PIC members are. I feel very strongly about.
I think as a board, I mean, if we're starting to, well, these boards can do it, these boards can't. I think right there alone is why the PIC committee should be sending in a letter on the behalf of us, is that if it's, how do we teach our kids about democracy if democracy isn't across all levels? Like, we're not talking colleges in elementary schools, we're talking about education system for our youth under the age of 18. And I am fortunate that I've never needed to use the services, but had I needed to, it definitely gives a connection. Because at the end of the day, people who are paid are reporting to certain people, whereas the trustee's job is to work for the person that's asking for help. And he doesn't, or she doesn't have any ties to, well, what do I need to do because I need this or I need that. So I would fully support a letter being sent in just on the fact alone that you're trying to divide it, the boards out in the education system.
This is where I still need your expertise. Can we decide this today, or do we have to announce that we want to decide this next meeting?
I think it depends if it's considered contentious or not. That's better, because you're supposed to decide by consensus if possible. If there's potential that it's contentious, then it should go to vote or go out to community, you know, then PIC rep should take it back and come, right? Is that?
Yeah,
correct?
like from what I was just looking at the bylaws is that you could put something out to the PIC reps and indicate, you know, does anybody have any issue with this type of wording? And then obviously if it's contentious, then it could go to a vote, but if you're getting back feedback that it's not, then.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't even have to have an official vote if it's not.
Okay. Do you have words that you would like to have on paper to read, writing something that we can share with the group, and then the group there are no objections, move forward with it? Or to work with, to work with me to make words, or
Yeah.
I don't know if I want them to be all my words on my own.
With the trustees too, as a.
Okay.
Of what was said, and just kind of in wording as well.
Okay. We'll put something together between this meeting and next to share it with the group, and then just to make sure that we are And especially being considerate of the fact that because we are over, we are already dropping down in people who were originally participating tonight as well. Okay,
But is this time sensitive?
how time since before,
When was the vote?
Before
They've already
year,
done.
right? And
Yeah,
the year was to
yeah,
make
just
its
need to have
decision as to whether.
yes, okay.
Yeah,
So our meeting,
the legislation.
our next meeting is November 13th. So if between now and the 13th, we establish that, is that still reasonable timeline?
Yes.
When do they shut down for, when does the
I
government?
just,
shut
I
down?
would say before Christmas.
Okay. Oh, yes. Yeah.
Well, they just got back, right? So.
Yeah.
Sorry, Meg from Bay Ridge and Bay Ridge. I just wonder if we can, like, I don't know how we do consensus like this, but is there a way to kind of find out if we think it's contentious before you go to all the trouble of writing the letter? Because then we're looking at voting on like hammering out details versus are we doing it?
Yeah,
I just don't want you to go to all that effort
Does
if
everyone
it's
have
gonna
any
be
interest?
contentious.
Within is here now is,
Like, I would be happy to say, I don't think it's contentious, but
Well, yeah, is there any concerns in the room? Okay,
So you can literally just say we're doing it.
okay. So we'll put something together. We'll go from there.
can I just, again, it's a legwork thing. Can I suggest that we, if we do decide to do this, and I know we haven't decided that yet, but legwork, can we send it out to other PICs? Can we, I know we usually send to government, to trustees. I will happily get you the email address. I have most of them of other parent involvement committees so that we can do some like province-wide advocacy.
That makes sense to me.
I'll update my
Okay.
spreadsheet.
and is there any value in sharing it with school councils?
Yeah.
And even, yeah. We can.
Yeah, because that's what get, right, that's what they put, he floats stuff out. And then if he gets a lot of opposition, then doesn't always follow through, but if he doesn't, then they proceed with it, right?
Would be nice if we, like, to help parent councils or the parents, if there are like a draft letter, almost like a petition that can, a template that we could, you know, put out, if you wish to support this, then here are some templates to help you. Not everybody has the ability to sit down and write a letter to the government and feel like their words are worthy of what they're writing. So if there's a template, we might get more tread on it.
So I just want to confirm my understanding at this point. Was it decided that the PIC is?
So I
doing it?
think it, based off people in the room, that it sounds like we'll move forward with doing this.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just so that it's on record. like-
yeah, yes.
Okay.
Right.
Amber, you're at Molly Brant to follow up. Sorry,
Marcia.
with what she said, when we do that template, can we also have like a proper and full explanation of exactly what the trustees do so that the families get to understand the value of our trustees? Because they may not know.
Visualize it.
Anyone who has a child with any special needs at all probably knows what it is.
I think,
So imperative.
I think we did something similarly, sorry, Shayla, Joycel, I don't want to keep throwing here forever, but just for precedent, I believe when e-learning was a thing, there was something the trustees came to us and asked for, was it e-learning? For support and advocating. And we did provide like template letters out to councils. We reached out to everybody and said, we want a concentrated effort on this. So we can probably go back and look at what we've done in the past to see how we provided that.
But we have done that.
Yeah, I feel like it was e-learning. Anyway.
All right. We're going to do this, and we're going to connect with other PICs. And we are going to share this with the school councils. With, sounds like request for a template. With information about the trustees, the role. And so that the councils can be aware of the importance in hopes that they also will provide support. Right, I'm not missing anything with that. Okay, that's the plan. Do it.
And before you leave, please help yourself to the sandwiches.
Yes, okay.
You don't have to make one.
So, yes, no, that's okay. So yes, so we will. Oh, sorry, I referenced it a couple times. There's a private Facebook group where we invite the PIC reps, as well as council chairs to participate for collaborative conversations. So I will include that information, so that we can make sure anybody who is not in that is in it. And there's the chair workshop, that information's going out. And follow the public PIC page as well. Sure that any other plugs to throw in there last minute. If I think of them later, then they'll be in the email that'll go out, which you will have at some point over the next 5 days. Saying a number to give myself a deadline. Okay, meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Very, very long.
There's the